So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to build a dynamic chart with these checkboxes for what will show up in the chart. And then these boxes will affect what the calculations are. And so here's our base data. And so we want to be able to select, maybe just Katie and Wayne or all of them, and then be able to check what sectors we want to display as well. So let's create a chart helper tab. And then what we're going to do here is, first of all, we're going to use a time period. And so we could do something like the last 7 days, but I think what I'll do is just condense this by month. And so the way I'll do that is, let's just put month here and then array formula. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert it into text. And so I'll just select this column. And then what we'll do here is MMM. And so I'll turn it into a 3-letter month. So GAN for Jan. And then year. And so we'll do this. Now you can see Jan 25. If we scroll down, February 25 and so forth. So let me just put unique around this, and then I'll condense it into just those months. So there we go. And then across the top here, we'll put our sales reps, but I want to use this to determine which ones show up. And so for the purpose of this, let's assume if none are checked, we want to display all. And so what I can do here then is we'll say show all. And then I'll put a true false here, and we'll use that. So if COUNTIF, and then we'll select these checkboxes here, true equals 0, then we'll do true, otherwise false. And so what this will do is see if any of those are checked, and if so, it's going to put false, otherwise it's going to put true. And then what we'll do here is we're going to say if or this is true or this is true, then we'll show this. And so make sure I close that or there. Otherwise, we'll make it blank. So we select Katie, for example, that's going to be blank. So I'm just going to select Daniel real quick. You can see that there. And then uncheck. And you can see it's still there. So now what I need to do is copy this across for each rep. So I'm just going to actually drag this down, because if you can see, this goes down. And so now I'm going to copy these. So I'm going to basically cut, double click, paste. The reason why I'm doing this is because if I drag this across, see where there's B4 and C4, it turns in the wrong one. So this is just a way to be able to drag it down and then copy and paste those formulas over there. So once I get these all in place, then we'll be ready to go to the next step. So let's just start with this part first. And then I'll go and edit and add the sectors. So remove those columns. And so what we're going to do here, because we're going to add those sectors, if we weren't, I would just use a sum ifs, and then basically sum if this, where the sales rep equals that, and the date is equal to that. But because we're going to add those sectors, let me actually just add that real quick here, and then we'll actually add it in the formulas here in a second. So if, we'll do the same COUNTIF. And then if this COUNTIF true is equals 0, what I'll do here is array formula, and this will just return all of them. So just like that. Otherwise, we'll do filter these where these are equal to true. And so that should do it. So there they all show up. So we'll start with the simpler filter here. So filter, and we'll filter that amount, where the sales rep, that should just be C, is equal to that first one there, and C4. And then we need to compare the date. And so because we did that to text, we're going to do the same thing here. Array formula, text, and then grab this. And then we just need to use the same format. So you can pick whatever format you want. Just make sure that they're the same. And then this one's going to be equal to that. And then that should be good there. So close that out. There's a total. So now we can do sum around this, just like that. And there it is. So before I can copy this across to other ones, so I don't want to build this manually. So what I'm going to do is come in here and hit F4, which is basically adding a $sign before the E and the 2. And there. So I'm doing all there. And then I'm going to And then I'm going to add dollar signs here too, but I only want it on one side. So the reason for the dollar signs is it keeps it from changing when we drag it around. So if I drag this down, for example, you can see that doesn't change. However, this one did change from C4 to C5. So that one changed from B5 to B6. So I want to be careful where I put my dollar signs, because if I put the dollar sign before the C, it's telling it not to change there, or if before the 4, it's telling that not to change. So C4, it's Daniel here, so I don't want the row to change. So I'm going to put the dollar sign before the 4. And we come over here, this is the month. I want the 5 to go down, but I don't want this one to. So I'm just going to put it before the B. So if you just look here, 1 is before the number, 1 is before the column. So now if I hit enter, drag it across and drag down, there we go. And now if I check just Daniel, for example, you can see now just Daniel showing up, none of the other ones are. And so the only problem is here now we have a error. And so there's a couple of ways we could handle this. One, we could say if C4 is blank, and so we could do something like that. If C4 is blank, we'll show nothing. And then of course we add that dollar sign. The other thing was it could wrap this with an if error, and we probably should do that regardless, because if it doesn't come up with any results, we don't want that NA to show up. So let's just do that just like that. And now I can drag this over, drag this down, and there we go. And then I'm going to add a little bit of currency formatting real quick while we're here. And now if I uncheck this, they're all back. So that's perfect for the first stage. And so we could create a chart off of this. And so I'll go ahead and go do that now. And then we'll wrap up this video with showing how to build those in as well. So add a chart. And I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this over here. And then delete it here. And I'm going to finish editing it here. So I'm just going to put it into the configuration I want here. Pull that down. Pull it up. Just there we go. And so let's just do a little bit of formatting. Make this a little smaller. Maybe 8. Like that. And let's name this one sales. And then I like changing this to black and this, but you can change it however you want. And then if we go to chart style, I like changing background and the border color the same just to make it look a little smoother, but it's up to you, whichever you want to do there. So there's the basics. We got a couple of things going on here. So if I go to setup, column B, column, there we go. Rows 4 is headers. And if you have an issue, now in this case, you won't need to, but you may occasionally have to do this thing where you switch rows and columns. In this case, you shouldn't have to, but if it is checked, just uncheck it and then it should fix it. And so I think now we're in good shape. So we have all the reps here with their amounts. And so now if we go to Daniel, for example, you can see that just Daniel's showing up. If we pick Katie, I can see Katie showing up. Let's actually move this to the bottom, I think. You can move that wherever you want. And I'm actually going to change that size there, something like that. Perfect. And so now if I uncheck them all, they're all back. Now, one thing is if you're like this and you have 3 of them checked, you can uncheck or check all of them by just clicking and dragging here, hit the space bar twice, and then uncheck some, just like that. And you can do the same thing here. All right, so next, let's incorporate the sectors. And so we're not going to display the sectors, but it's what composes the number. And so let me just pick Daniel here for a moment. Is update this filter so that way it will only match whatever we have selected here. And this is the reason why I use filter here, not some ifs, because it's going to make this next part a little easier. So I'm just going to come over here to the end here. And what I'm going to do is a match. And I'm going to match, I'm going to go to the end and delete the rest of that. So that way I can go over here and drag. And what I'm going to do is match this to whatever is here. And then 0 and close that out. Now, so far, it looks the same. Let me go ahead and drag this over, drag this down, and I got something going on here. I don't think I added dollar signs. Yes, I did not. Okay, so I need to hit F4, make sure we add those dollar signs, and the same thing here. And now I can drag it over and down, and we should be in good shape. There we go. So now if I come over here, let's just show all of them. Okay, Daniel. Now let's see what happens if we select energy. Well, now it just changed. And so if we look, it increases the more I add. until we're all the way up to the top. And then again, we could select all of these and toggle them just like that. Obviously, if we're toggling all of them, they're gonna look the same. But if we go just energy now, you can see that toggle. And then we can go back to all and see the same thing. All right, so that is it for today's video on how to use checkboxes to dynamically change and update your chart. Make sure to check out the other videos on our channel for more tutorials on both Google Sheets and AppScript. And as always, have a great day.